Dougal? Who's that? Get down, good boy. Hello! Remember us? Well, me especially, not really him. Yeah, I've gone quiet for a number of weeks because of obvious reasons that one of Lloyd's Manson girls had it in for me, Kim and Mikey and Kim Silvio, and the things that they were putting on about. Thank goodness the Twitter account got closed, so anybody in here helped in closing down that account, thank you very much. But of course another one popped up within seconds. It's definitely one of Lloyd's Manson girls, and these things they said about me were absolutely outrageous, so I just thought this isn't worth it. However, plus I've been really busy because I'm working full time now, albeit I do enjoy my job. And if you're interested in how the cancer on the leg's going, I've now got a complete scar, and there is clear separation, I'm told, between the cancerous bit and the healthy skin, so hopefully that's my only dash with cancer. But anyway, moving on. Last night there was a programme on about Rebekah Vardy, who's the husband of Jamie Vardy, and she does sing it. People might know me as the wife of a Premier League footballer. Well, I think Leicester City for the drop, so that's not going to age well. And of course, not so long ago, she was in this stupid court case with Wayne Rooney's wife, Colleen Rooney, and it was called Vanessa Vardy, Jehovah's Witnesses and Me, I think it was, something like that. Anyway, I can't mind the full title. I should have looked it up beforehand, but anyway. So I got alerted to the fact that it was on by a guy called Peter, who messaged me. My phone went bing bing, says, "Oh, you're watching this, Rebekah Vardy," and I went, I'd heard the programme on. And I went, no. So straight away I stopped watching The Fear of the Walking Dead and went straight on to Vanessa Vardy, who looked like maybe she's had a little bit too much work for me, but hey ho. Sort of looked like a bit of a zombie. And I watched it. I missed the first 15 minutes, which I did manage to do on catch up, and it was quite an interesting programme. I only wish it hadn't been Rebekah Vardy, because the only problem was the next day, and afterwards Twitter was full of, oh, can you believe anything this lassie says, blah 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 blah, here she is money grabbing, blah blah blah, here she is media whoring, that sort of thing. So the fact it was her probably diluted the effect that it might have been if it hadn't been Rebekah Vardy. However, she had an interesting story to tell, and she was luckily, because it is Rebekah Vardy, because she's a celeb, she managed to tell the story. And it wasn't on for very long, about an hour and 10 minutes, hour and 15 minutes, I believe. But however, anybody who is a Jehovah's Witness or former Jehovah's Witness knows exactly the script. Everything I was watching with her, even though she left when she was 15, I just understood completely. I was just nodding my head when they interviewed other people who were Jehovah's Witnesses, or had a relative who was a Jehovah's Witness. Again, I was nodding my head because I knew exactly that this was the truth about the truth. However, I was massively disappointed that nobody from the Jehovah's Witnesses had the balls to actually, appear on camera and try to dispute the claims of these other people. The fact that we then had to have the Watchtower responded, and then you saw a picture of the Bethel in, I think it's Chelmsford, and it had words over the top, and of course every time you saw the words and you saw their response, it's complete and utter bollocks. I was actually saying to the TV, liars, 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 because it was complete lies. Everything they said, we don't do this, we don't do that, we don't do the other. I just thought, yes, you do. And even this morning, they were saying, oh no, we don't use, we don't shun people, we don't encourage shun people, we don't use the phrase shunning. And shunning is actually one of the words in their own publications that you can find on JWBD.org. So it's complete bollocks. Anybody who has been brought up as a Jehovah's Witness and has gone through a judicial committee or been disfellowshipped or publicly reproved, we all know what it's like. And anybody to say it's not that way is talking bollocks. And I was just shaking my head. I was thinking, here we go. This is anybody who isn't a Jehovah's Witness, because they put the Watchtower's response to this, thinks, well, maybe Rebekah's got this wrong. Maybe maybe the organisation is correct, but we know they're not. And there's countless stories of people who have, and I personally know of people who've got disfellowshipped by the witnesses and have then gone on to end their life. I know personally somebody who did that. So then to turn around and say there's absolutely no connection between being disfellowshipped or shunning and suicide for the Watchtower to say there is, and it's just bollocks, because we know there is. I think there was a missed moment when she went to the headquarters in Chelmsford. I've never been there before. I went to the Old Bethel. It didn't seem to me as though there was a guard there with like a gate, and the car went up and she had to go up and say, you're not getting in. To me, she could have easily drove in and at least entered one of the buildings and must have a reception and just say, hi, I'm Rebekah Vardy, been trying to get somebody to come on the documentary, walk into the reception, even if you blur out their face, and just say, can anybody speak to me today? And then to be told, sort of the heavy guys to come on and tell her and the cameraman and the sound man and the producer and the makeup artist to actually be removed from the premises. And that would have been more interesting. So I thought it was a missed opportunity there. It looked like it was at some sort of secret headquarters where she's pressing this button and there's no response and there's a voice coming through. And I was thinking, just drive into the Bethel. So I thought that was missed out, but as I've not been there, I don't know what the setup is like, but that's just how I see it. And in the end, when you saw the wee Christmas party, I recognised some of the faces there. And I tell you what, there was one bit in the programme where they said, we wanted to know, we asked two former elders, I think it was, how elders are appointed, blah blah blah, and I thought to myself, for the love of God, please don't let one of these elders be our work-shy creation friend, Lloyd Evans. Please don't let it be Lloyd Evans. And then all of a sudden I recognised one of the guys, the older guy. I didn't recognise the other guy. I seen the older guy on the TV not so long ago, and I was going, oh, thank goodness. Because we all know, going back a year and a few months, I'm sure he would have blagged himself onto the TV. I'm sure if they were looking for a ex-Jehovah's Witness spokesperson, ex-Jehovah's Witness elder spokesperson, he would have been on that programme. I have no doubt about it, that he would have wormed his way on. And of course that shows how his star has now diminished, how he's come down the rankings of who can we get from the ex-Jehovah's Witness community who can talk about what it's like to be a witness, to the inner machinations of the elder arrangement, of being disfellowshipped and publicly reproved, blah 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 blah. They may have in the past considered asking him, but now, thank God, we are past the days where we'll be seeing his little chubby cheeks on British TV, or hopefully on any TV at all. Yes, so that was the blessing. That was the blessing about that programme, that we didn't see him making an appearance. And I bet he probably watched that, and I bet he was probably watching the programme at home with a little pin of Kim Silvio putting pins into it, saying, damn, that was another opportunity, because he has mentioned before that there's things have been filmed with somebody else, and he's been cut out or dropped out, and we know when's this happening, this film, The Truth About the Truth, is finally revealed. I think they've had to cut out everything. And maybe they've done the interviews and they've just maybe they've distorted his voice, because obviously they couldn't do the re-interviews. It'll be interesting when it ever comes out, that film. So if anybody's there's a guy called Ortiz, I think his name, I can't even mind his name now, but and he dropped Evans like a whetstone, I think it was, like a lead balloon, as soon as he heard of what had happened in Thailand. So anyway, that's all I have to say. I'm yet to do the response to the person who sent me the letter for the invitation to the memorial. I've not even got round to that. I've been so really busy anyway. So I just thought I'd come back, that me and Dougal would say hello, and I just give my thoughts on the programme. If you haven't watched it, I'm sure you can find it on Channel 4 Catch Up. It is worth watching. And interestingly, I know it didn't end well for Rebekah Vardy saying that at some point that she was abused, but I don't know whether it actually came out. I can't remember whether it was somebody in the congregation. I don't think so, but I can't remember now. But the thing is that what was a shame was that she was estranged from her mother because she still doesn't know why her mother got disfellowshipped. It'd be handy if you said, you know, my mum agreed to be interviewed by me, and we say, look mum, what happened, just give the whole process of whether she was disfellowshipped for committing adultery, and why they were shunned, and why Rebekah Vardy left at 15. The only thing that was good in her case, she may have been brought up in the organisation until she was 15, but at least she never had to suffer at what the organisation does to you, especially in your teenage years and in your early 20s, as a lot of us had to do, which is a really difficult time if you're a Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, anyway, see you again, and but I don't know where and I don't know when, but I know we'll meet again some cloudy day. It was sunny early on today, it was crap, but anyway, see you later, bye bye, have fun.